Welcome to the 2025 Michigan Disc Golf Organization Hall of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Mark Ellis. I shall be presenting tonight because nobody else volunteered to do it. We also have our videographer, who is David Phillips. Terry Calhoun, I cannot be heard back there.
Can you guys hear?
Yes.
I'm old.
Okay. Okay. Crank up those hearing aids. Your actual host for the evening is Kirk Haggadone. Kirk. And Kirk is the host because he has been elected to be the president of the Michigan Hall of Fame. And on the basis of that, all things that nobody else wants to do fall on his shoulders, including setting up all of this. Good job, Kirk. So, as you know, the reason we are here tonight is to welcome three of our most recent inductees. But for any of you that have interest in nominating others, either present in the room or anybody listening on video, and maybe one day this will be published, talk to Kirk. So you can send it to Kirk Haggadone. His phone number is readily available on Facebook, and most Frisbee golfers have memorized it. And if you are going to submit a nominee, we want a full bio. We're not looking for a name, put in Joe, right? We've already got a couple of those. But, we want the full bio. We want to know why. Because we don't want to do the work, and you may know things that we don't. So every year, there is a different group that gets voted in. And some years, there seems to be very little relationship among them. But this year, it seems to me there is an obvious theme. And the theme of this year's inductees is they are all beloved. These people are loved. Now, popularity is a good thing because every Hall of Fame is in essence a popularity contest. But also, as we know, there are some members of the Hall of Fame that got in spite of our belovedness rather than, because of it. So here we go. As we do, as I've done every year, we will start with mentioning who is already in the Hall of Fame. We started this entire process in the year 2015, and back then the MDGO, the group that rules Michigan disc golf and organizes, does a great job, created the Hall of Fame, and the first three inductees were Jim Kenner, Jaybird Mathis, and Sue Stevens. When a Hall of Fame is created, nobody's in it yet. And truthfully, given how disc golf has come from basically nothing into where we're at now, 500 plus courses in Michigan, multiple tournaments every single weekend of the year, including the middle of February. Had we done nothing more than bring in Jim Kenner the first year, we would still have a great Hall of Fame because Jim Kenner owns and runs Discraft. Discraft is the principal driving force of disc golf in Michigan. And if we didn't have Discraft, we still would have courses and players and good players and people sponsored by other companies. But, it would be sad. We'd be like Ohio. Maybe not quite that bad. Okay, but our second class of 2016 was Al Shack, Keith Ayton, and Jeff Swanson. Two of them are here. Two of them are here. Okay, so some years we force those folks to come on up and hang in the front so you can adore them. We can do it again this year if they're willing. You want to come up, guys? Look at this. Here we go. Here we go. Yay! Oh, and congratulations, and congratulations. Our third class in 2017 was Al Hoxma. Is Al in the house? Al! Who would have thought? Right. As well as Mike Rayleigh, who's hiding in California, and me. There we go. There we go. Okay. Evidently, the recall petition has failed so far, so I'm still in. So in 2018, we added to our group Terry Calhoun, who is present. As well as Gail Vaughn, who has left this earth, unfortunately, as well as Larry LeBond, who doesn't appear to be here. But we have these guys, okay?
Larry asked me to say hi.
Okay, well done. Okay. Hi, Larry. Okay. In 2019, we added Dr. Leonard Johnson, Aaron Oakley, and Liz Carsipian, all great except none of them are here. In 2020, our class was Ron Russell, Damon Evans, who is unfortunately passed, Pat Timmons, and Gail McCall, who has also left us. In 2021, we added David Felberg, Gunnars Nolendorfs, Dr. Stephen Peck, and Javier Kowalski. In 2022, we had our biggest class ever. 5 got in that year, in part because we had Bob Houston and Sue Ann Houston. Come on up, folks, and they're here. So evidently, sitting at that table really increases the odds of, walking up to here just for you guys, that want to make reservations early next year. Adding to that group was Joe Gill, who's in the house. Molly Morrow and Mike Randolph. In 2023, we added Kirk Haggadone, who was in the house. Who, by the way, became president of this organization the first year he joined us. How's that? Okay. And also in that class was Todd Branch, Jim Schultz, and Ken Gill. Our inductees of last year were Dwayne Utek, Scott Wilson, and Joe Wander, and Joe is with us. Did you notice how close Joe is sitting to that table? How could it be? How could it be? Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to have them sit down because this year's inductees are Todd White, Sarah DeMar, and John Minicuci. So, Kirk, I have a seat for you if you want. Okay, we can both fit there if we're comfortable. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So, there must be a start somewhere. I have not revealed the order of who's getting called first, but to destroy all of that anticipation, Sarah Elizabeth DeMar is being inducted. So, Sarah's PDGA number is 25166. Her nickname is Peach. Now, let's get this straight. It's not Peaches, it's Peach, singular, okay? That nickname came with her to disc golf. We didn't give it to her, but of course, it's her name and we use it. So, we have done some actual research. We have the PDGA stats. Ho, 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 ho. And what does this claim? It claims that she became a PDGA member in 2004, that her career events are 296, and her career wins are 117. And unlike our other inductees who were both maintained amateur status, her career winnings so far, having not made a penny this year, because she didn't sign up this year, only reason that was true, $27,479.50. There we go. I mean, you could buy a used Volkswagen with that. That's, we're talking impressive stuff, right? And future generations that watch this will say, a used Volkswagen, what is that? I don't even know what that means. Okay. So, amongst her most notable contributions, she is the 2015 World PDGA Champion in female pro 40s. Now, by the way, we have 38 prior inductees. Of those, how many have world titles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 of them have doubles, but in this room, for example, we do have Terry Calhoun. Yeah. So now we're 3? 2.5. 2.5. Okay. Okay, sure, no doubt. So by the way, we're only talking about pro titles, not amateur titles. There's a stack of amateur titles, out there in our group of inductees, but pro titles. Sarah is, I believe, second to last. I think there's only one more that has a pro title that's not in yet, but we'll see how this goes in the future, right? So, by the way, Sarah is just off the road. She was touring with Ricky Wysocki and touring as his professional masseuse. I kid you not. And as soon as she hopped on the Ricky Wysocki bus, he did a heck of a lot better. He was just floundering, right? And then Peach pops in there. So by the way, Peach is a professional masseuse. She's run her own business for 22 years. And many of the people in this room, including me, have had such terrible situations that we went to her and endured what it takes to be cured. Because she will cure you. You just won't like the process necessarily. Okay. No, she's really good, really good. If I hurt bad enough one day, I'm going right back. Okay, here we go. Now, oddly enough, the people in this room are mostly known to Michigan people, right? We live in Michigan, we tour in Michigan, we have Michigan friends. Peach is probably as well known on the pro tour as she is in Michigan. In large part because, of course, she's a masseuse, and people come to her in their hour of agony and need, but also because of the fact that she has toured a lot, and she is the one-woman life of the party anywhere she's at. There are people that have mastered the art of squeezing joy out of life. Peach has done so. It's like you give a squeaky toy to a bulldog, right? It just won't let it go. Just squeeze that last ounce of joy and fun out of it. You know, she's darn amazing. So, Peach has never been married, never been engaged, never asked. How do you like that? That was her line. Pretty good line, eh? Commitment phobia? Oh, who would say something? No, we would never say something like that, except her, of course. Peach is local. She grew up in White Lake, graduated from Lakeland High, where she had a grade point average. Now, you might just think she's a stud athlete, and believe me, she is. She throws rockets. Lakeland High, she recorded 1 B+ in her high school career. That was in French, and that lowered her grade point average to 3.985. Wow, okay. Wow. So then she went to the University of Michigan. She made double major. Check this out. Double major in calculus and English lit. You got to be kidding. Like, that's ridiculous. And she carried over a 3.4. Did I lie about that? Did I write it wrong? Oh, okay. My notes said it was calculus, so it must be true. Okay, because, hey, I'm a professional note writer. So after undergrad, she went off, got a degree in myomycology. She became licensed, and we have learned that not only is it hard on someone receiving that, it's incredibly hard work to do it. I mean, it's hard physical labor. The average masseuse lasts for 5 to 10 years. Then their body breaks down. They can't take it anymore. Peach is going strong after 22. So, pretty darn impressive. So, Peach found disc golf in 2004. She turned pro in 2005. And by the way, the top players, basically that's what they do. They play for a year and turn pro. Because why win a few more Frisbees, right? So, evidently, she became a member of the Discraft team, Team Discraft. I don't remember this, but when I interviewed her, she told me it was true. So it must be true. She said that she acted like she was on Team Discraft. She wore Discraft stuff. She thanked her sponsor at tournaments. Okay, and eventually, Jim Kenner put her on the team. Now she claims that I suggested it to Jim Kenner. I don't remember that, but I'll take credit for that, just in case I did. So, and she's been on the team ever since. So, and by the way, while I was interviewing Peach, Jim Kenner walked into the bar we were at and joined us. Okay, when's the last time anybody else saw Jim Kenner around here? All right, Jim, where are you at? So she did have an interesting interaction with Todd White, one of our inductees of this year. She wanted to play amateur nationals. Now, amateur nationals, the top national amateur tournament in the world, in America. She was still an amateur at that point, and she wanted to play, and she told Todd, the rules don't stop me from entering. Todd says, yes, but you must qualify. And he gave her a cutoff, made her play the day before the tournament, and said, if you can't break 100 on the toboggan, you don't get in. She shot 98 and got in and played. What, couple times? Yeah. I will admit that there were multiple times that Sarah DeMar aided me and joined with me in some of the promotional stuff we did. We did teaching videos together. We did clinics. Those of you folks that remember the crazy games that happened at AM Nationals and at state finals every year, Peach was critical to the entire process. She was the mistress of merchandise. She loved the ability to decide who gets what for what game. And so these things are just rapid fire things where I would have 20 minutes to give away 200 Frisbees donated by Discraft. And so you can imagine how fast that has to go to give away that kind of quantity. And Peach was superb as an assistant and helper with all of that. So let's talk briefly about the glowing title of World Champion in 2015. Now, normally Peach goes to tournaments and she is the life of the party and she is where the action is at and she is everywhere having fun. But this year, she decided she was going to be serious. She rents a cabin in the middle of nowhere by herself, calls it the Barbie Castle, okay, and isolated herself for the world. So she's doing really, really well, but the final day, she's worried. She's up by 13 strokes. She's worried. She's up by 13. So she concentrates, gives it her all, and she wins by 17. Good job, world champion. So when a local star wins a world title and you're sponsored by Discraft and you are the personal masseuse of the owner of Discraft, they give you a disc. They give you a box of discs, but a disc with your picture on it, world champion, you know, all the good stuff, right? So I saw a prototype mock-up of her disc, and she showed it to me, and it had a silhouette of her, not like a photograph, but a silhouette of her throwing. And she showed it to me, and I said, Peach, this doesn't look like you. She says, what's the problem? I said, it's not curvy enough. I said, that's not how you look, you know? You are much curvier than what this silhouette shows. So what did she do? She took it to Marty White, who was the artist for Discraft, and the first ever Discraft boob job was performed on a Frisbee. There you go. So I now give to you amongst the most lovely visages in all of Frisbee-dom, Sarah DeMar.
I realized a few days ago I was going to have to publicly speak, and like it makes me really nervous because I'm used to just conversing with people where they talk back and we have conversations. So this makes me nervous, but I'm gonna plow forward. So I've known so many people in this room for like decades and decades, and you know, like I know we call it the Hall of Fame, but it's kind of like the Hall of Connection, and like I think that's probably what's important the most to all of us here. And I really appreciate all the connections I've made throughout the years. I didn't really prepare anything, I have no bullet points or anything. I just figured I like to tell stories. You guys all know I like stories. So I would just kind of tell you like the essence of who I am from a story when I was just on tour a few weeks ago. I just like have always done what it takes to like make what I want happen. And what I wanted was for Ricky Wysocki to win a lot and win money. And so this story happened a few weeks ago. I was caddying for him after working on his poor wrist that's all blown out from signing too many autographs. And he was playing a skins match where he could win $200 every single hole. And his wrist was all blown out because he had signed too many autographs the night before. So we're like, oh man, he's hitting first tree. Comes up, first putt, he can win $800. And this guy, who is Gannon Burr, our current world champion, 19-year-old kid's caddy, turns to the crowd of like this many people at least, if not more, raises his hands, take a deep breath, and says, Rick, 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 and starts chanting Rick as Ricky's putting. And as his caddy, I'm like, I don't like this at all. And Rick doinks the putt with his bad wrist. $800 down the drain. So a few holes go by, Anthony Burrell wins them all, he's just craft, go A, B, we're happy, but still. So, holes go by, the skins are stacking again, it's $1,600. It's the hardest hole on the course, and the first three guys, A, B, Simon Lizotte, Cannon burr, doink, doink, doink. Not looking good. Ricky all the way to the basket, 23 feet. So this woman walked up to me earlier and said, "Is it normal that people chant while guys putt?" And I said, "No, it is not." And that is Gannon Burr's caddy, and I am Ricky's. So here we are. Ricky's got a 23-foot putt for $1,600. And I look at this Ben Kinney, Gannon's caddy. He raises his arms to the crowd like this, takes a deep breath, and I spin on him, put both my fingers in his face and go, "Don't start that shit." And he goes, "Whoa!" And anyone like Keith here, who has seen me freak out over hair products, knows this face. And I've got my eyeball on him. I go, "We don't play these games." And he says, "Oh, Ricky likes it. He likes the chanting." And Ricky's like, always the good guy. "Yeah, I don't care." So my golfer has spoken. I stand back, and Ricky says, "But Gannon is out." So Gannon has to make a 60-foot uphill putt in order to push the hole so Ricky doesn't have to can lay up and get the money. So I joyfully raise my arms and go, "Burr, burr, burr," and the whole crowd starts doing it. And Gannon's like, and he doesn't putt. And we keep chanting, and he's like, "Ah," and he doesn't putt. And I'm like, "Really? Burr, really?" And he waits for everyone to lose steam, does his whole lineup, and makes the 60-footer. So now Ricky has to make 23-footer. Ben Kenny starts the chant again. They're all chanting and clapping. Ricky Wysocki doinks the 23-footer. $1,600 down the drain. Yup, and the whole crowd's like, "She'll listen to his caddy," you know? So I'm nodding, A few holes later, Gannon's got a 2-footer. The crowd is silent for Ricky's 58-footer, and he makes it to stop Gannon Burr from getting $2,200. The very next hole, 18, Ricky throws a 480-foot bullet to hit the barn, get the skin, and win $2,400. Now, that has nothing to do with me, I get it, but I kind of feel like that story right there exemplifies the lengths that I'll go to get what I want in life, and I have played almost 300 tournaments, because I've always wanted to just stand right here in front of you all and say, like, I love disc golf, I love throwing discs, I love competition, and I love it when people win money. And like, I don't really have much else because I'm super nervous. And that's my story. Thank you guys so much.
Keith, Sarah. Sarah DeMar. Yours. One little thing here.
I want you guys all to know
That's
I
right.
spelled Sarah's name wrong on the disc. D-E-M-A-R, which she reminded me of. But on the trophy, it's spelled correctly.
Yay. What?
And you get these 2 discs too, Sarah.
Yeah.
I would love to get those signed.
Congratulations. Our second inductee of the night is John Minicuci. John Minicuci, PDGA number 22116. And we have the stats for him. John Minicuci joined the PDGA in 2003. He has played 45 events, won 17 of them all as an amateur, and that has nothing to do with why he got in the Hall of Fame. No, he's a good player. He really is. He's a very fine player. Most people that pick up a Frisbee and go to the park will never come close to his level of skill or his success. But the reason that he is being honored tonight is because he is a tournament director, a league director, a course designer, a course installer, a course maintainer, and one of the most immensely popular people in Michigan. So, in order to get background, I said to John, let's go out one day, we'll throw a little round of frisbee, we'll sit around, we'll, talk, and if you want to bring a few other people to play, that's cool. Yes, he does. He brings a horde because they all want part of this action. We had, these people I was able to write down as we're playing: Bob Turner, Chris Leo, Bob Black, Bart in somewhere in here tonight, Bill Sikora, Jason Fox, Perry Fortin, Super Dave McCabe, Kevin Ignatowski, and Matt Stivers. They just wanted to come out because they wanted part of the action. Okay, but that is typical of what happens when John shows up somewhere. Actually, Bart mentioned this, and Bart said that if you're anywhere on the east side of Detroit, there is going to be a three-spoked wheel, and the three spokes are John and Chris Leo and hold on, I got my notes here somewhere. Yes. Hold on, help me out. James? Dan James, of course it is. I have it in my notes, but I can't read my, come on. Okay, so what that means is those three guys do so much work, and they interact in so many ways that you never know who has what title, who is the director, who's running the merch, who is doing the payouts, right? But those three guys interact in the Motor City Chain Gang, the Metro Detroit League, the Bobus Doubles, the Sunnybrook Indoor Putting Leagues, the underage drivers. I mean, all of these things, they combine together to run. And these are crazy popular things. Motor City Chain Gang, over 20 years, they've averaged over 100 people every single league night. And they're playing on little courses. You go to firefighters, which means you play in what, groups of 12 and 15 and 18? Because of, what they do to bring in disc golf. So, back to John Minicuci, one of our spokes. John is 64 years of age. He is married. He has 2 adult daughters. He has a real life. Yes, he does. Even though he spends so much of his time running Frisbee golf stuff. John is an engineer for General Motors, has been for 32 years. He's an engineer, a real engineer. He does vehicle exteriors. And what that means is that technology has to combine with design. It's got to look good and it's got to work. And the combination of those two things must blend, and that is what John Minicuci does for a living. And they pay him for that. Who would ever imagine? There we go. But I also found out, and I had no idea this is true, John's best sport is not disc golf. John's best sport is foosball. He is known as John the Wizard Minicuci, and he is willing to bet you your paycheck on a foosball table right now. Okay, I would not sure any of us should even consider taking that bet. He didn't really start disc golf until 2001. Dabbled here and there a little bit. But in 1999, 2 years before that, he had rotator cuff surgery. And that means we will never know how good he would have been with like 2 shoulders, especially the throwing shoulder, right? But in spite of that, he jumped in and went whole hog into it. It's like jumping into quicksand. He started competitively, but he immediately started running leagues. He immediately did computer stuff. He was running the website for Damon Evans' store. Remember the disc golf store in Clawson that was around for a while? He ran the website for that. Evidently, he got together with Terry Calhoun, and Terry taught him much of this computer stuff, and they worked together on computer stuff for the sport. And flowing from that is now 20 plus years of amazing contribution to the game of Frisbee golf in Michigan. He ran the amateur national championships for over a decade. He ran the Disc Golf Great Lakes Open for over a decade. These are two of our biggest events. You don't fall into those jobs. You get invited into those jobs when you produce so much excellence that people don't ignore what you have done. He has run Senior Olympics for 13 years. He has run an indoor putting league in the winter for 13 years. He ran underage drivers, kids, teaching kids how to play, for 5 years. He ran Bobus doubles for 8 years. And his tournaments have raised over $100,000 for the Capuchin Soup Kitchen. Soup Kitchen, right, okay, $100,000 just from running tournaments. In addition to all that, all that stuff ain't enough, right? He also has been hugely impactful in designing, installing, and modifying courses as needed. He's the primary designer of Hanson Hills, Bald Mountain, Bryce, Beverly, Jane Lasky, Sunnybrook, and Stony the Green course. Unbelievable. He has worked on major redesigns for Stony, Raintree, Firefighters, Wagner, Star, Riverbends, Oakland University, and the Toboggan course. I mean, that's enough to get in the Hall of Fame, just right that, just, right? Designing, a few courses, that should get you in. So, seeing as I had all those guys that were there coming out to support John, I said, okay, guys, tell me why. Why are you here? Why are you supporting him? So, what Bart said was, John knows everybody in every park in every city. If you work in a Parks and Rec department and you put in courses and you're in charge of them, John knows you. And by the way, those people love John. He can talk to those people. He can cooperate with them. Rat, who is Robert A. Turner, said the Motor City Chain Gang would no longer exist if John wasn't around. He might have been drinking, I'm not sure. Bill Sikora said, I wouldn't be playing this game except for John. And Perry Fortin said, I showed up at a league. I was a brand new player. I had a 3-disc starter pack. And I go to this league, and they're all making fun of me, and they're mocking me, and they're laughing at me. And he says, I was about ready to quit, but I said, I'll give it one more try. He shows up at a Monday night league at Firefighters. He gets put in John Minicuci's group. John welcomes him. He encourages him. He teaches him. And Perry Fortin now, 25 years later, is still throwing. I give you John Minicuci. Oh, okay, I can load you some. Okay.
Yeah, the joys of being 65, can't see. 64. Thank you, Mark, that was amazing. I'd like to begin by thanking the Michigan Disc Golf Hall of Fame Committee for this amazing acknowledgement. This honor is something I will cherish forever. I'm glad the current committee has continued the work that Terry Calhoun, Keith Ayton, and myself started back in 2014. The first MDGO Hall of Fame awards, like Mark said, were presented back 2015 at the Michigan State Championships. Here we are 10 years later, and even though the award ceremony at Ludington was truly remarkable with the amount of people we gathered under the Mason County Pavilion, this event here at Holden's is obviously more special to me. I'd like to thank Larry LeBon for his years of leadership after we changed hands, and then now Luna for all the work you both have been doing to keep this going. I'm truly humbled to become a Michigan Disc Golf Hall of Famer. Thank you. Back in the late 1990s, right after Al Gore had just invented the internet, I had already learned how to write and publish websites at home. AT&T at home was our home provider at the time. I was still recovering from my first shoulder surgery, and I was in the basement creating some web pages for my local disc golf courses. Our daughters were very young at the time, and looking at computers was something they both took an interest in. They would sometimes come to the computer room and watch me do my thing. I would add a picture of a hole using straight HTML coding, and then boom, it would pop up on a web page. I think I was just as amazed as they were. Not long after I published those pages, I received an email from a guy I never heard of before named Terry Calhoun. He suggested I show my web pages to a disc golf store that recently opened in Clawson that Mark just named Disc Golf Store. I remember walking into the disc golf store the first time. I was with my two daughters. To enter the store, you had to walk down this pathway in the back, had to make a left and then a real quick right, and then voila. For a disc golfer back then, it was like walking into a candy store. There were discs everywhere. Damon Evans was there when I first walked in, and I recognized him from a tournament I played many years ago. I introduced him to my daughters. I showed him printed copies of my personal internet pages and suggested we launch the disc golf website store online. He agreed, we shook hands, and our friendship took off from there. Fast forward when we began hosting the USA DGC, Mark Ellis originally told me my first priority as a TD was to sell out the event. The first year or second year were rough. Following the first couple USA DGCs, I spent countless hours researching events in every state and country on the PDGA website, looking for events worthy enough to be a USA DGC qualifier. Finally became what it is today when I look back at the late night efforts, which were followed by many tired work days, and it was pretty proud to get through all those. The memories reflect the mental work I taxed my brain with. The physical work I did on the courses, redesigning them, had a tremendous impact on me personally. The hardest, obviously, was installing the toboggan course year after year. Chris Leo and I spent more time installing the toboggan course than anybody else, specifically on that one. After years of physically installing the course, cement T-pads were finally added. When that happened, my wife Brenda played a real pivotal part, driving me out to the park every day while I was hosting work meetings in the car. We monitored the progress of the cement T-pads, even changing the ones that they poured incorrectly before anybody noticed. Those today who host events at the toboggan simply show up and play and will never know the struggles it took us, that we endured to make those events better by improving the course. It really wasn't a course. It just happened to be on a toboggan hill that Jim Kenner designed a course around. As an organizer of the sport, I'm proud to have hosted over 500 TDs, and an assistant TD as well, welcoming over 26,000 players and donating all the money that we did to the soup kitchen. And I've played a part in too many memorial events for friends who have passed. Being named for the TD of the United States Amateur Disc Golf Championships and the Great Lakes Open was a big highlight in my career. There are a few other things that stand out as well: the funds we raised, the work we do with the children, starting the underage drivers, and hosting every Michigan Senior Disc Golf Olympics tournament. As a player, I didn't get to compete all that much in tournaments. I was kind of busy doing other things with the sport, but I did get to play in a few of them, and I think I did okay. I got to shake Jeff Schwass's hand twice, being a Michigan State champion. I won 2 Michigan amateurs, and I got to shake H.B. Clark's hand, winning the Bowling Green Championship. These 5 events are probably the most biggest in my career. I've been fortunate in my disc golf days to have met some amazing people, beginning with a lot of you here tonight. Along the way, I've been blessed to work with many of those who are in this room. No particular order, I'd like to start off by welcoming and congratulating my fellow inductees, Sarah DeMar and Todd White. Congratulations to you both. When Flying Saucer took over the Metro Detroit Disc Golf League, or disc golf scene, the guys running Flying Saucer, me included, we thought it was a great idea for our Devil's Delight event that we held at Kensington Metro Park to let the pros play on the toboggan course, which really didn't get installed until later in the year because the United States Championship back then was, I think it was September. It was pretty late in the year. Yeah. So I approached Todd and I asked him if we could put the course in, and Todd had that way of smiling at you, and he said, "Sure, go ahead. Put that course in." And at the time, I didn't know why, but if any of you know what the toboggan was like in the early 2000s, I'm sure Todd didn't mind not having to install those rubber pads.
I started in my garage one year.
Todd also welcomed our MDGO group into his home many years, hosting a lot of our MDGO meetings. Congratulations, Todd. Rest in peace. When we began to install the OBs at the toboggan course, we went through a learning curve of what was good or what was a bad OB. Instantly, the internet was brutal with comments. Didn't take long. Sarah DeMar reached out to me privately, telling me about a few of them, and provided a few ideas on how to make them better. Even though I wasn't involved in the initial installation of the OBs, by the time I got there and really observed what we were looking at, I tried to make as many changes to be so they were as fair as possible for everyone. As a tournament director of a major event, with many details are in their final stages of implementation, having to address an unplanned roadblock like this needs fast resolution. Sarah provided a few options when I needed them most. Of course, we didn't all use them all, but really appreciate the way she approached me and it allowed me to kind of rethink what I needed to do, and congratulations, Sarah, well earned. To my friends at Discraft, Jim Kenner, Mike Wagner, Eric Sittler, Bob Giulio, Jamie, Pat Timmons, and many others, thank you for opening up your doors, your home, many occasions, and your hearts, allowing me to be part of the Discraft family. Whenever I visit there, it's like they just let me walk in and do what I want to do. Working many years with the United States Amateur Disc Golf Championship and the Great Lakes Open, I've had the pleasure of meeting and working not only with PDGA members like Andrew Sweeten and Michael Downs, but here at Holden's, the owner Bruce, his son Matt, and their families. They've always treated me with open arms. If you remember, those who used to work the United States Championship, Kensington used to contractually force us to use their caterers for their events, and that was not always a good thing. Holden's came in, they took over through their great service, their hospitality, great food, and their amazing beer choices. They added an element to the events that the staff and players are all grateful for. Inside our MDGO family, I'm thankful to have worked with great people alongside other MDGO Hall of Famers like Jeff Schwartz, Keith Aiden, Mark Ellis, Al Haxma, Terry Heck Calhoun, Jay Bird, and many others. Mark Stevens and now Nacho have done great work continuing on as our state coordinators, and I thank all the MDGO for their assistance through my career. Now for my Metro Detroit clan. So many people I can't possibly name them all. I've been blessed to count on a few people for extra hands when installing courses, cutting down trees, moving brush, installing T-pads. I spent more time installing courses or redesigning courses with anybody other than Matt Stivers, Mike Walker, and my wife Brenda. I know Matt and I shed way too much blood redesigning river bends. One time during a workday at river bends, darkness was falling on us fast. My friend Mike Walker and I were close to shutting down the entire Shelby Township power area when a few electrical lines allegedly had contact with a few limbs when the tree was falling. Hey, here's a helpful hint for all of you. I wouldn't stop drinking beer until after, or start drinking beer until after all the chainsaws are put down. I could tell you a few stories about the Bald Mountain course with installation with my wife, but instead I'd just like to thank her for the hundreds of times we walked those hills, building one of the best courses on our side of the state. Bald Mountain is awesome. So thank you to my wife too. For the Motor City Chain Gang, I was fortunate enough to work with fellow Michigan Disc Golf Hall of Famers Gail Vaughn, Damon Evans, and Molly, as well as not a Hall of Famer, but Mike Bovis Payanessa. We still play the Bovis Winners Saturday doubles every year, and two of his nephews actually play on our Monday night City Chain Gang League. That's pretty cool of them coming out and doing that. Brenda and I were fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with Bovis before he passed, and you all know I was very close to Damon. Rest in peace, guys. I cannot begin to thank other Chain Gang members like Chris Leo, Dan James, Steve Brazel, Bob Turner, Bart Black, for the countless conversations on our Metro Detroit disc golf scene. Thank you all. I wouldn't be here today without all of your friendships. Finally, to my family. Both of my daughters, Angela and Crystal, who now have families of their own. Both of you have endured many family functions while I was out doing my thing. I'm sorry I missed so much, but I'm hopeful as I near retirement that I could spend more quality time with you and yours. Both Joshua and Kevin are amazing, and we thank you both for our 7 grandbabies. Brenda and I are proud of both of you. And to my wife, Brenda, my rock, my sounding board, and my critic. Thank you. I bounced so many email replies that I wanted to send that you wouldn't let me. And art concepts off of her, only for her to roll her eyes in disbelief and make me redo them. I'll never be able to thank you enough for covering me at family gatherings and for driving things out to a park where I may have forgot to bring something for a league or a tournament. This honor is mine, is yours as much as it is mine. I love you. Thank you. As for the sport of disc golf, nobody knows what the future holds, but I believe the sport is better off now than when I began. Didn't have a lot to do with me, but it's just the way it happened. I don't follow the disc golf day to day as my life has moved away from the majors, and I sometimes wonder how I was actually able to fit all that time into my busy schedule. I'm confident the young people taking over will continue to grow the sport. So as I prepare for retirement in a few months, I wish them all well. Thank you all for an amazing run. Thanks, everybody.
Let's take a picture. Got that? And these too.
Our final inductee of the night, Todd White, PDGA 13783. Todd White. Todd White is not with us. He left this earth on October 10th of 2024 at the age of 54. Far too early and crazily unexpected. Todd was immensely deserving of a Hall of Fame spot, and truthfully, he would have been in years before, except he worked so darn hard and he was so effective, we were afraid if we voted him in too early, he would quit working. I kid you not. Todd was a tournament director, a league director, he was an MDGO state representative. He was a team captain of the Mustard Cup. He was a computer genius, and Todd was beloved. This year, the Mustard Cup, which is a team tournament, dedicated the tournament this year to his honor. And I think there are shirts in this room, or at least around here, that actually, you know, here we go. Look at here. See? See? Oh, could it? Oh, really? Okay. Oh, it's been renamed the Todd White Mustard Cup. Okay, there you go. Okay. And well deserved. I will admit that Todd was a close personal friend of mine, and his passing hit me personally very, very hard. Todd, I don't ever remember seeing him sick. I never remember seeing him injured. I never remember seeing him frail. Todd White was an immense ball of energy that I don't remember seeing him tired, which is crazy given the quantity of work that he did in running things. So, the course here at Kensington Metro Park was just put in, and we had just started the league, and we were, you know, trying to get people to come on in, and you know, I was of course the fool that invented the league and started the process. And I remember Todd and his then girlfriend Marnie, soon to be his wife Marnie, later to be his divorced wife Marnie, I remember that they were sitting together, and I talked to them, and I was shocked how nice and how smart they were. It's like, whoa. You know, now we understand in a room like this with so much intelligence and talent that, you know, well, of course, but not every Frisbee golfer, you know, is an intellectual star. And thank goodness, because it makes some of us look slightly, you know, not as bad as we would be otherwise. But I mean, Todd was exceptionally smart. And it was immediately obvious to me that this guy had his act together. And so I said to him, listen, after the round, you know, I have a cooler of beer in my vehicle. I can offer you a beer. And Todd accepted. And that beer cost him 10,000 hours of his life because he got sucked in. He got sucked in. You know, he helped me run the league, but then I found out that there were things that computers did that I didn't have the slightest idea. You know, he said things like, you know, we don't actually have to add the scores. We don't need to do payouts. Well, how do these things happen? Oh, you just program it. Really? Really? Now today, of course, right? You program your bath water, right? You know, right? Okay, but back then, this is unheard of. No one was doing this. And Todd said, oh yeah, we can do this. And I said, really? And I was highly suspicious because I knew that with a pen and a piece of paper, I could add stuff up. But Todd was brilliant on computers. He was so brilliant that it wasn't just Club Kensington and me that abused the heck out of him. Discraft used him. Every time Discraft's computer got hacked or they went offline or whatever the heck it was, you know, they bought Todd off in Frisbees and he kept the darn thing going. It wasn't long before the MDGO had adopted Todd as their own. And, you know, somehow he then found himself on Labor Day weekends in Ludington for the next 20 years of his life, not throwing Frisbees, but working like a dog day and night because he was the computer guy that made all of that stuff work. So, I have to admit that personally, I love Todd. He was not just my friend. He was immensely a useful guy. Son of a gun, he was good at everything. It was unbelievable. So here we go. Let's go to the World's 2000. The first and only tournament ever where every division was offered at a World Championships and every doubles division was offered at a World Championships. Never been done since then or before. We also had the first overall payout of over $100,000 in a tournament. This thing was immense, right? We had over 1,000 competitors if you count singles and doubles. It was huge. So, of course, if you know Worlds, you know that there are some mega divisions. There are divisions that you can't fit on one course. So you have like 3 courses full of the same division. Well, then there is the big shuffle. After half of the tournament, you have to reschedule everybody by score after everyone played the same number of courses, the same, right? So the big shuffle. Well then, the big shuffle comes. That day, we got hit in August in Michigan with flash floods. We don't get flash floods in Michigan in spring, right? We got flash floods. It closed down 96 Expressway with floods in August. Amongst other things, we had our computers hooked into the parks because they had electrical outlets. No big deal. Just plug your computer in until they all shorted out because of the flooding. Oh my God. On the Great Shuffle Day. Now, because I was PDGA competition director for 10 years or whatever it was, I went through the Great Shuffle in many locations. And it's just a nightmare. Some places are so disorganized, they don't get the pairings for the next day out until midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning without crisis. But say a player finishes. They don't know what course they're going to. They don't know what tee time they have. They don't have the slightest idea because we haven't figured it out yet. So it was common for me to help other clubs try to go through that. You know, me, right, with my computer skills, thanks very much. But we had flash floods. They were published at 11 o'clock that night, which was a miracle. And that was because Todd White and Todd Moore went to Todd Moore's garage across the street from Hudson Mills, set up their own computer banks. They were pulling stuff off, you know, the satellites somehow, right? And the day was saved. And people are calling me, hey, the tee times aren't up. Hey, the tee times aren't up. Don't worry, we got Todd and Todd. I hope, I pray. Unbelievable. But you know, I mean, Todd White handled that kind of pressure. Talk about Ludington, state finals, the biggest B tier in the world, 700 people playing, right? 700 people playing. Oh, and by the way, at the end, you have to pay people out. Who gets how much money? Who gets how many Frisbees? What place did you take? Did you make the cut? Did you not? It is immensely stressful. Okay, I mean, how many courses? Jeff, how many courses we use sometimes? Like 10 or something? Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. And the man at the center of that was Todd White. So, God bless you, Todd White. Can you send somebody in your stead to replace you, damn it? Well, okay, that may well be true. So, I mean, Todd left us at 54. That was, oh, come on, 54. So, here we go. I needed to, you know, do a meeting. It's what I always do, right? You know, when you get in, you know, I do a meeting with you and anybody else you want to bring into the meeting to interview and get ideas and background. So my meeting was with Megan Kearney. Megan, of course, the wife, widow of Todd White. And joining them were Matt and Dawn Lacey, and Cooper. He actually has a first name, but no one ever uses it. Right, Cooper. And coming down from London, Jeff Schwass. Jeff Schwass drove 3 hours to sit around with us while we're talking about Todd White. Okay, there you go. So it isn't like I made all this stuff up. I had some help. Okay, so in 2000, one of the reasons we ran Worlds is we wanted to use the toboggan course. The toboggan here at Kensington is the beloved area. Now, we know Frisbee golf, what do we get? We get the swamps, right? Here's the swamp. Here, have your swamp. Good luck. We hope you love it. Yeah, and we do, and we take it, okay? And we're playing in the swamps in the worst conditions in the world when the rest of the park is empty, right? Because we're Frisbee golfers, come on. So, we wanted to use the toboggan area. One of the reasons we ran Worlds 2000. But then, after the tournament closed, we lost our course. They don't want to give us that area. That's their beloved area. We're Frisbee golfers. We don't deserve it. So one day, Jim Kenner calls me and says, listen, that Innova company, they are running the United States Disc Golf Championship, the Pro National Championships of Disc Golf. He says, we want to bid on that. So I said, Jim, let's have a meeting. So it was me and Jim and Pat Govang, the then Michigan-based PDGA chairperson, and we sat down, said to Jim, you don't want that tournament. Those are pros. The pros don't love you. They won't buy your Frisbees. They won't spend any money. All they want you to do is spend a lot of money on them, and you can't do enough to make them happy. He says, what do we want? We said, amateur national championships. That's what you want. So we talked about it. Well, AmNats had existed previous. It was in North Carolina at the Christmas tree farm, right? Okay, Bill Boylan, absolutely. There we go. See, you played it. That's why you know. Right, okay, see? Great tournament, but it disbanded. So now we have the opportunity. And Jim said, who could you possibly get to run that? And I said, I know exactly who we're gonna have run that. Todd White was our TD handpicked. And we said, Todd, he says, yeah, sure, sounds great. Okay, yes, yes. Because once you get a Todd White running something, oh, it's gonna work. It's absolutely gonna work because he will make sure it works, and he's a darn genius. So for the next, 8 years he ran it until, then we handpicked Phil Shelton, and when Phil Shelton dropped off, then we got John Minicuci. So, come on, right? The cycle continues here. So while Todd was doing that, he was also busy with, buying a house, putting a Frisbee golf course on it, inventing leagues that were there, and putting in a bar that was adjacent to the Frisbee golf course so that you didn't have to walk through the front door of the kitchen and dirty up the house in order to, hit the bar either on the route or directly thereafter. So Todd was a busy boy. And of course, what did he do? He then coerced, encouraged, persuaded the Lacey's to buy a house a mile away. And thus was born the most infamous tournament in the history of all Frisbee golf, the 4-Keg Challenge. The 4-Keg Challenge is so named because there were 2 kegs of beer at Todd White's house and 2 kegs of beer at the Lacey's. And when you showed up for this tournament, maximum player 60, only 60, you have to give up your keys and spend the night there, okay? You weren't able to drive from course to course because we had people with pickup trucks and we hopped in the open backs of pickup trucks, like 30 of us at a time, and ferried back and forth, okay? Now you have to understand that 4 kegs of beer is an immense quantity of beer for 60 people. Even if you have friends, even if you have, caddies, even, whatever, right? So, and before long, the 4-Keg Challenge didn't change its name, but it got up to 13 kegs. Okay, there you go. Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. So I played that numerous times. I was a common participant at both of those courses. Knew them; they were my friends. And back then, I actually had some small modicum of skill, and I always took tournaments seriously. In fact, today, if I throw a bad shot, I scowl. You guys all know that. I'm just too competitive, and even now when I suck, it doesn't mean I tolerate it. Just how it is. So it progressed over the years. It went for 12 years, right? It was, it's world famous as the tournament went. So one year, Todd introduced the concept of penalty beers. There were mandatory alcohol consumption rules. Now, since I wanted to win, I would drink as little as possible. Well, everybody else is drinking, oh, here we go, free beer, right? Okay, so one year, Todd introduces penalty beers. And I remember Mike Carey says, penalty beer, I spilled my beer. I'm going to penalize myself, penalty beer. And Mike Carey slammed penalty beers. Okay. No one is surprised at that, let me tell you. So later in that event, I'm in contention. I really want a chance to win it again. And my shot goes deep into the thicket. And I go into the thicket with my beer and my Frisbee to throw. And I didn't have as much beer in my cup when I came out. And I was accused of cheating by not drinking my beer. Todd White, even though he's my friend, was a decisive man. He yells, penalty beer. So I was forced to slam a beer, not a beer, before my next shot. Okay. And then what happened? Mike Carey said, me too, I'm penalized myself. And Mike Carey had a penalty beer with me. It was like a companionship, penalty thing. The only time in Frisbee history that a penalty was imposed upon people on your card just because. There you go. Okay, so Todd became the elected PDGA state representative. He served 2 terms, 8 years, and during those times he had all the MDGO meetings at his house. He hosted it. So, I mean, Todd was so thoroughly involved in disc golf and so thoroughly talented at the process that it was just amazing. I would also mention that his house became a location for staying. The MDGO lived at his house when you guys came to help with tournaments, DGLO or MATs, right? You all stayed there. And the Lacey's also hosted huge amounts, and the Lacey's were right there with running those tournaments. Shockingly, Dawn Lacey was Todd's right-hand woman, and she worked every bit as long and as hard in hours as he did. And Matt was amazing because on the toboggan hole, he spotted hole number 3 by himself, and never lost a disc. That is shocking that could happen, and also lucky as heck. But because when you shake over to that side, I mean, you can lose a village, nonetheless a Frisbee. Okay, so he did all of that. But then eventually, in 2019, Todd met Megan, and their first date was a blind date. It was set up by mutual friends, and you never know how a blind date's gonna go, right? Just, you know, it's impossible to predict this blind date. So they had code words set up. There was code words for you want to end the date immediately, like this ain't working, right? And they were separately told by each of their friends the code words, including the really important code word. Would you like to have dinner? They were meeting for drinks. Would you like to have dinner? That was a code word that said, hey, I am really interested. Let's try to do something with this, okay? Halfway through the first drink, Todd White said to Megan, hey, would you like to have dinner? Megan looks up and she says, well, you know, I ate an hour ago. I'm not really hungry. No, that's a lie. No, she knew what she had. She immediately accepted, and they were a fast couple thereafter. Within a couple months, they were, shall we say, co-residing. But as soon as they moved in, like within minutes of moving in together, what hit? COVID. You want to know if you're compatible with someone, right? Set it up so you can't leave for any reason, right? I mean, we weren't going to restaurants, you know, we were not going to jobs, right? Basically, we were hanging out at home, and that's what they did. So they met in 2019. They married in 2022. And then Todd dies on us 2 years later. Come on, Todd. How dare you do that to us? Come on. Even if not for yourself, how about us? Think about us for a change, right? Okay. Because Lord knows we miss him. So there's one other really important story that has to go with this, but I will not be the one telling that story, because accepting the award on behalf of Todd this year are Megan Kearney, wife, as well as Stacy Coos, and I would invite you both up.
I really can't speak, and it's so lovely to see all of your wonderful faces and how much I know some of you so well, and so lovely to meet others. Todd would be so honored, and I'm honored, and I know his mom and sister and family are honored. I'm gonna let Stacy accept on Todd's behalf.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Coos, and Todd is my best man, I guess is the best way to say it. I met Todd back in '97 at Kensington on the disc golf course. It's kind of nostalgic being here today because, Mark, you were there in the beginning. Luna, you were there in the beginning. Al, Cooks, everybody that I'm looking around and seeing has been part of this journey. And I know Todd would be really happy to see all you guys here tonight, and he'd be really proud of how far we've come. I have a lot of Todd White stories, but I'm going to tell my favorite one and the one that means the most to me. When Chili proposed to me, him and I had the conversation about who was going to be my best man at our wedding. And I knew a couple people, but we talked about it and determined that Todd was the perfect person to walk me down the aisle. He loved chili. He was my best friend. And we were up in Ludington one year. We were outside the restaurant about to walk in. And I said, Todd, I have something really important I want to talk to you about. He's like, okay, what is it? And I said, well, Chili and I have been talking about this, and we've decided that I want you to be my best man and walk me down the aisle at my wedding. And you guys know Todd isn't a very emotional person, but that is the only time that I have seen Todd White cry, was that day. And we all just kind of held each other outside the bar, and it was a really special moment. It was special knowing that I had somebody in my life that had such an impact that I could ask and trust to represent me on the most important day of my life. And it wasn't just my wedding day, it was every day with Todd. It was every event, it was every conversation. He was my best friend, and I miss talking to him, I miss his advice. It's been hard without him, but it's important to remember and acknowledge the legacy that he had in this game, in this sport. He just loved this game so much. And I remember times when, I was having a hard round or I wasn't feeling well and I wanted to give up, and I just remember him kicking me in the butt and giving me that pep speech that you would expect your best man to give you when you need it the most. So I'm just really honored to be a part of all of this game, this sport. I'm really proud to stand up here and accept this award for Megan and for Todd. And it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that he's in heaven watching down over all of us. And we all really came together when this happened. I really saw a lot of people step up and do some really great things in the wake of all of this, and it makes me really proud. And I hope that we can all just, carry on his legacy and just remember what an impact he had in this sport. So, thank you.
Folks, thank you so much for coming out to this program. Generally now there is signing of Frisbees and frivolity and less order than we've had even most recently. Thank you and good night. Pardon?
On Todd,
Yes?
the guy shot pool like a shark.
He did. Yeah.
And when he decided he was going to get a pool table and shoot pool, he studied it. He got books and he got videos. He knew, where to hit the cue ball to make it spin what way when it needed to do this.
Yeah, he financed his undergraduate career on the pool table.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, he was a hustler.
That's an interesting story too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I saw him shoot a couple of times, and it was just Does he ever miss?
But yes, we want
Not very
to.
often.
No, he wants to.
Oh, he misses when he
No,
wants to.
no, sharks miss enough so that you don't become discouraged, so that you bet the next time.
Sure.
Well,
It's part of the
Yeah.
part of the game.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I never bet with him, so he would just like, well, oh, we're not betting money? Okay, I'll just keep going until everybody will get bored and go home.